Hello everyone, this is Crustomania and welcome to the 22nd week selling results, I believe. And it's pretty crazy that we're at the 22nd week selling results video. I know Christmas had just happened, so happy holidays, and this video is going to come out between Christmas and New Year's, so happy New Year's as well, because the next video that may come out will be in the new year. So happy belated holidays and Happy New Year coming up. But anyways, this week was very surprising. With the holidays, there was a lot of things that happened, and I quite literally forgot how many cards I sold. Prior to recording this video, I only thought I had about 5 or 6 cards that I sold this week, but it turned out that there were some other cards right before the holidays that I forgot about, and the holidays were busy. So this week I actually sold 11 cards, and there are quite a few interesting cards that sold this week, and there'll be some interesting cards to note for the video. But thanks again for everyone watching these videos, and we will get right into the video right now. So for this 22nd week, I believe, the first card that sold was the Phanpy full art from Surgins Sparks. Now this card I got from the LGS store, and this card I knew would sell, but it took a little bit longer than I thought to sell, and I don't remember if the price point I don't think I lowered the price point. I had the price point kind of where I wanted it. The full art's really nice, the artwork's really nice, and overall it's a really nice art with Phanpy in the middle and 2 Dawn fans in the background. So this card ended up selling for $7, and then after sales tax, retail delivery fee, that was a new one, transaction fees, and the shipping label fee, it came out to about $4.99 for an eBay net profit. So not too bad for this Phanpy card. The TCGPlayer market prices will appear on the screen, but from what I know, that was my asking price. So I'm pretty happy that this card got the asking point for what I wanted. And also, this is a really nice card, so whoever got this card really got a nice Phanpy card, because I remember seeing this in person. I was like, wow, this is actually a really nice art. I didn't know this one existed, but it's a really nice one. So that is the first card that sold this week. The second card that sold this week was the Forretress card from Neo Discovery. So this is an older vintage card I also picked up at the LGS store. I don't remember if it was at the same time as the Phanpy, but this card was in lightly played condition. This was from a vintage binder that they had at the LGS store. I think someone traded in or sold their vintage cards to the LGS store, and they had a whole binder. So some of the e-reader cards and some of the older Neo's cards I pulled out. And this is the one card from Neo Discovery. I know Forretress, and it was a non-holo, but the vintage cards are really nice, and I do remember some of these cards from this era, as this was probably the end of my personal collecting days when I was younger. So I kind of remember this era of Pokemon cards. But this Forretress, this card sold for about $6 on my eBay page, and then after sales tax, transaction fees, and the shipping label fee, came out to an eBay net profit of about $4.17. So pretty good there. I got what I was asking for pretty much for this card, and I got to have the opportunity to sell a Neo Discovery card and partially own this Forretress card, which is really nice because Forretress is a cool Pokemon, one of the Pokemon I like from Gen 2, the Sinnoh League, I believe, with Pineco and Forretress. So anyways, that is the second card that sold this week. The third card that sold this week was the full art Electivire from Galarian Gallery. So this one was in near mint condition. I saw it at the LGS store when I picked up the Lechonk card and a few other cards, and I had sold this one in the past, so I knew that this card would probably sell eventually if I picked it up, and it was in near mint condition. So Galarian Gallery always has nice arts. As I mentioned before, I like the Magmortar art a little bit more, but I do like how the Magmortar is kind of derpy in the background, like, oh, he's so surprised that like the electric bolt is coming out of Electivire. So This card sold for about $3 on my eBay page, and then after sales tax, transaction fees, and the shipping label fee, came out to an eBay net profit of $1.57. So not too bad there. I think that this card kind of goes for around that range. Although we are in the Pokemon bubble where a lot of prices are like skyrocketing for a lot of different Pokemon cards, which is quite crazy, but this card I think is still around that range for market value, so that's pretty good. This card is going to a good home, and it's in pretty much near mint condition, and glad to have found this card at the LGS store, and glad to have sold another Galarian Gallery card. The artworks from Galarian Gallery are really, really nice. So anyways, the next card that sold was also a card I got on the same trip as well as this Electivire. So it is the Charizard V from Crown Zenith. So this is the second one I've had. The first one I got in a Charizard different card lot off of eBay. And this is a V card. To be quite honest, I don't sell Vs as well as some of the full art illustration rares, art rares, but this Charizard V sells pretty well from what I know. Maybe it's just because it's Charizard. I don't know. People really like Charizard, but this card sold. And I had a feeling that this card would sell for what I was asking it for, because it's pretty similar to the price range of what the first one I sold was for. So this Charizard V sold for about $4 on my eBay page, and then after sales tax, transaction fees, and the shipping label fee, it came out to about $2.44 eBay net profit. So pretty cool there. I knew this card would sell, but it went through, I think, one round of listings, which I thought it was going to sell in the first round of listings, so I was a bit surprised when it got relisted again, but eventually this card sold, and it is going to a good home, and it's another Charizard from Crown Zenith. As I know, this is a similar art to a version of this Charizard V in Brilliant Stars, where it's the exact same card, it's just the insignia on the bottom left is different. This one has the little crown, the other one has, I guess, a Brilliant Star. Not exactly sure, but anyways, on to the next card that sold. So this card that sold is the Serperior V card, and this I also picked up from the same time as the Charizard and Electivire, and this is a Trainer Gallery card. This one was interesting. The listing actually ended, but the person watching the listing reached out to me saying, hey, do you mind, since the card did sell, do you mind if I just purchase it for the price that you're asking for? I said, oh, okay. So we worked out a thing, and the person ended up purchasing this card via my eBay listing. So this is a really nice card. It's in near mint condition, and the artwork's really nice. Serperior, I believe, is from the black and white generation. So I did have Snivy as a starter, as black and white was my last Pokemon game I played on the DS before I played Sword and Shield later on the Switch. I didn't play the games in between there, so I believe I had Snivy and an Oshawott at one point, because I feel like I restarted the game. But anyways, this card sold on my eBay page for about $8, and after sales tax, transaction fees, and the shipping label fee, came out to about an eBay net profit of $5.86. So pretty good there. I'm okay with the price. Whatever I set, that's the price that I'm usually pretty okay with in terms of some of these listings, depending on who it is and who's buying. But for the most part, if it's listed that way, I'll pretty much honor the price of what I listed, and because that's normally the price I'm pretty happy with selling at. So anyways, really nice card, and Serperior V. So the next card that sold this week was a card I wasn't sure was actually going to sell, as this variant of Entei is I'm not familiar with. So it's Gouging Fire Ex, and the EX cards are very hit or miss for me. I know I've sold the Roaring Moon and a few others, but like the Vs, the EXs are very hit or miss for me selling. So when I traded this card for some lower end cards at the last card show I went to with Intra PDR, I grabbed this card not knowing if someone would be interested in this card. It seemed pretty clean, and luckily this card sold. So whoever purchased this card knows what Gouging Fire is, and I guess likes this variant version of Entei. So basically this card sold for about $4, and after transaction fees and the shipping label fee, I got an eBay net profit of $2.48. So not too bad for the card. This card was traded, so the trade wasn't exactly 1-to-1, but the other cards that I had, I wasn't really going to move that fast, so it was better to have traded and have a card that moved than have stagnant cards sitting around on my eBay page. So overall, just a better transaction for me, and better to have cards kind of move around. And this card is going to a good home to the person that purchased this card. So anyways, we're going on to the next card, and this one's interesting. So the buyer for this next card actually is Xray, and this is the Houndour full art card from Obsidian Flames. And Xray has not been as active because he's been really busy with real life and not putting as much time into YouTube, just because his regular life has been so busy in the holidays and stuff. But he saw my video of the last LGS store pickup and reached out to me saying, "Hey, how is that Houndour card? It looks really nice." I said, "Oh, it's like in pretty near mint condition." He's like, "Oh, okay." So he was looking for near mint condition cards, and he said, "What do you want for it?" And we negotiated on a price, and he was okay with it, and he purchased this card from me. So this card is going to Xray, which is really nice because I know Xray, we've dealt with each other before in terms of I helped him supply the giveaway cards for his giveaways, and he's purchased a couple cards for me, has been happy with those cards that he purchased. So this Houndour card is really nice because it's going to a good home. Oddly enough, this card relisted a couple times, and I'm kind of surprised that this card relisted a couple of times, just because I figured the artwork was really nice and Houndour seems like a popular Pokemon. But anyways, this card sold for about $6, and then after sales tax, transaction fees, and the shipping label fee, I made an eBay net profit of about $4.15. So I'm really happy that this card is going to a good home with Xray. I know that he will appreciate the cards, just because the cards that I sold him in the past, he really did appreciate. And this Houndour card is a really nice artwork. It does remind me like of a pack of dogs or a pack of coyotes kind of in a pen. So very interesting. And I'm glad that this card is going to a good home with Xray. And it's really nice that, you know, he's looking out for certain cards, and I was able to get him one of these cards. So anyways, the next card that sold this week was a light play version of the Charmander promo. So I got this from the second card show trip that I went with myself, and I got this from the vendor, I believe Fab's TCG. And at the time, I didn't really look at the Charmander super well, and even though Fab's TCG gave me a pretty good deal, I didn't realize that this card was in lightly played condition. I actually thought it was in near mint condition. So that trip, I didn't do the greatest card conditioning looks, but it is what it is. And this Charmander eventually sold. I was waiting for the first one to sell before I wanted to sell this one. And this one, I lowered it in price because there is a dent at the top right hand corner, as you see, and then there's some whitening on the top of that. So I marked it as lightly played just to be more on the conservative side. And I didn't really want to charge too much. I know they're going for a lot more on TCGPlayer right now, but the dents can be pretty hit or miss depending on who is wanting this card. So I lowered this one just because I was able to hit within my margins, just lowering the price, and it just seemed like the right thing to do for me for from a buyer's standpoint. If I was buying this card, I don't think I want to be paying near mint or the really high-end lightly played cost for this card just because there's a dent on it. So anyways, this card sold for about $9 on my eBay page, and then after sales tax, transaction fees, and the shipping label fee, it came out to about an eBay net profit of $6.73. And I know I looked up this card in lightly played condition on TCGPlayer. I think it's going for about $12, which is crazy because this isn't even the Pokemon Center stamped one, but oh well, it is what it is. I was pretty set on 9, and I was okay with letting this card go for that just because of the apparent whitening and the dent on the top. Not sure what happened to the promo card, but that's how it goes. So the next card that sold this week was another card that I traded with Entropy DR at the card show that I went with my friend and got the Gouging Fire from. This is the Gyarados EX card. So this is one of the few EX cards that I do pretty well on so far. I think this is the 4th Gyarados EX that I've sold, which is quite amazing because I think this card I've sold the most versions of, at least. And this card had, I think, 1 relisting, but then eventually it sold, and I knew this card probably would sell just based on previous weeks of selling. And I did the trades for this card. This card I look at as more of like a loss leader, but it's a high moving card, so I traded some cards that weren't going to move for kind of a higher moving card, and we'll go with that. So this card sold for about $2 on my eBay page, and then after sales tax, transaction fees, and the shipping label fee, I made about 73 cents eBay net profit. So TCGPlayer price, I believe, is around $1 market price, so a little bit under what the market price is, but that's okay. I consider this card as a loss leader and a fast mover, so I know most of the time this card is probably going to be sold. And the last couple ones have been combined chips, but it's okay. It is what it is, and that is the Gyarados EX card that sold this week. So the next card that sold I got from the LGS store as well. I can't remember which trip, might have been... Yeah, I can't remember which trip, but this is the Magneton promo card from Surgins Sparks. This card is actually really nice. I do like the artwork, and it really shows Magneton in a really cool light. And all the mechanical parts in the artwork makes it look very electric and steel, as the type of Magneton is. And this card, I wasn't sure it was going to sell, but I'm glad it did sell, just because this Surging Sparks, I heard, has been a harder product to find actually in stores, so maybe this card is harder to find just because maybe the ETBs are harder to find. Not exactly too sure, but anyways, this card sold on my eBay page for about $5, and then after transaction fees and the shipping label fee, came out to about $3.35. So that is pretty good for this card. It may be going for more on TCG market price, but you know, $5 I was okay with, and a buyer purchased this card, and this card is going to be going to a good home, and maybe they're collecting Surging Sparks, or maybe they're missing this in their master set for Surging Sparks that they're doing. So anyways, that is the Magneton promo card from Surging Sparks. And the last card that sold this week is also from the LGS store. I believe I got the same time as this Magneton. And it's this Passimian full art trainer gallery card from Silver Tempest. I am not familiar with Passimian, and I know this trainer gallery card probably isn't super desirable, but when I was at the LGS store, I figured I'd pick up some of these lower end trainer gallery cards just because they're a little bit like lost leaders, but they're also interesting cards to have up on my eBay page, and I sold trainer gallery cards in the past, so I figured I'd swing on this one. I know it's not a super desirable one, but I figured I'd see what the market was for this card. It did get relisted 2 or 3 times, but eventually did sell, and the buyer is getting a pretty nice card. So this is the Passimian card. This card sold for about $1.50, and then after sales tax, transaction fees, and the shipping label fee, came out to about 30 cents net profit. So not a big one, but I was very curious to see if this card would sell from the trainer gallery, and it did. I don't know if I'd swing on another Passimian again, but just an interesting experiment for me. So overall, that is the 11 cards that sold this week. There was actually one more card that might have sold, but still pending on a money transfer from the buyer, but that's for another day. But anyways, that's the 11 cards that sold this week, and I just wanted to note that I recently got reevaluated from eBay, and I have become a top rated seller, which is very interesting. And I want to just point out that I kind of had a leg up on being a top rated seller. I might have mentioned this in another video, or I may not have, So I sold a lot of different things prior to Pokemon cards earlier this year, and I already had about halfway through. So like you need 100 sales and about $1,000 gross. I was about halfway in sales and halfway in gross money needed to hit top rated seller right before I started selling cards. So I thought I was gonna hit top rated seller by the end of January, and I actually hit it right in November. But because I missed the assessment date for eBay, I actually had to wait a whole nother month. So currently right now I'm a top rated seller, and to be quite honest, unless you switch on certain things, I'm not sure what the benefits have been so far for me being a top rated seller. To be quite honest, I feel like I have had the same amount of sales as an above standards eBay user, so just something interesting to note there. But I did want to say that I was a top rated seller, and it comes at a very interesting time because as of recording this video, I have not purchased any more new cards per se, and I think currently I have about 15 cards on my eBay page that are active, and maybe duplicates I maybe have an extra 6 or 8. So total right now my inventory is sitting at 25 cards. I'm debating whether I want to get more, and if I like when I continue down the road, but we'll see from there. I might swing on some deals at the beginning of the year, in terms of maybe acquiring more inventory. So if you guys want to check my eBay page for more inventory, feel free to, but it might be a bit sparse for now. So anyways, thanks to everyone that purchased this week. Really appreciate Xray Hawk reaching out to purchase some cards from me this week. And overall, I hope you guys like this video. It's kind of a long one, and I'll provide the timestamp so you guys can sift through the video and not have a 5-minute talk of me talking about a weird gear. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next selling results video. Have a good one, everyone. Peace.